Right. So today we're going to dive into a topic that's
Okay.
super important, and that is student well-being.
All right.
And we're going to be using a blog post by Dr. Howie Knoff, who is the president of Project AchieveZ.
Okay.
And he's going to be breaking down a recent CDC report on youth mental health. So just to give everybody context,
Sounds good.
Dr. Knoff is a real expert in this field, and he has a lot of experience, and so I think we're in good hands today.
Yeah, he's I've read some of his work and it's really thought-provoking.
Yeah, and I'm excited to kind of dig into the CDC report because I feel like we hear a lot about the challenges facing young people today, but to actually see it laid out in a report like this, I think it can be really eye-opening.
Yeah, absolutely. And the CDC report, I think it makes the case that we need to be thinking beyond academics and really prioritizing student well-being.
And Dr. Knopf doesn't just lay out the problem. He actually offers some potential solutions.
Okay, I like that. All right, so he's not all doom and gloom.
Yeah. No, he's not all doom and gloom. He's a hopeful guy. And what he proposes is really interesting. So he's calling for comprehensive social skill training for every student.
Every student. So he's saying even well-adjusted kids need this.
Exactly. That's what he's saying. He believes it's not just about fixing existing issues, but about building a foundation for all students to thrive.
Interesting. Okay, so kind of like a preventative approach.
Exactly, like preventative care for mental and emotional well-being.
I like that analogy.
And he actually compares it to building a strong immune system. So social skills act as a buffer, helping students cope with stress, navigate conflicts, and just make better choices overall.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's about equipping them with the tools they need to navigate the challenges.
Exactly. And I think that's what's so powerful about his approach is that he's not just focusing on the negative. He's saying, how do we help all students thrive?
Right. Yeah.
And the CDC report really underscores the need for something like this. I mean, some of the statistics are pretty sobering.
Yeah, like what are we talking about here?
So they found that 40% of high school students reported persistent feelings of sadness or hopelessness.
40%. Wow. That's a huge number.
Yeah, and for girls, it's even higher. It's over 50%,
Right.
with a significant number even considering suicide.
That's really alarming.
And those numbers, they're even higher for certain groups. So LGBTQ plus students face even greater struggles.
Right.
Over 60% reported persistent sadness. And there are alarming rates of bullying and suicide attempts within this group.
It's heartbreaking when you hear those numbers, and it makes you wonder, what are we missing? Like, how can we create school environments where every student feels safe and supported?
Right. And I think that's where Dr. Vroff is onto something with this idea of social emotional learning, or SEL, as he calls it.
SEL. Okay. Yeah, I've heard of that, but I'm not sure I fully understand what it entails.
So SEL is really about helping students develop the skills they need to manage their emotions, build healthy relationships, and make responsible decisions.
So it's kind of like a life skills curriculum that way.
Yeah, exactly. And it's about giving them the tools to navigate those challenging social and emotional situations.
Good. That makes sense.
But Dr. Knoff is very specific about what kind of SEL programs he thinks are effective.
What does he mean by that? Like, are there different types of SEL programs?
There are, and he's a big advocate for programs that are based on what he calls cognitive behavioral principles.
Cognitive behavioral principles. I think that's a term that a lot of our listeners might not be familiar with. So can we unpack that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So cognitive behavioral principles are all about understanding the connection between our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors.
Okay.
So basically, it's recognizing that our thoughts influence our feelings, which then influence our actions.
Oh, I see.
So in SEL programs, these principles would be applied to help students become more aware of their thoughts and feelings, learn to manage them effectively, and make healthier choices in challenging situations.
So it's not just about teaching kids to be nice. It's about giving them the mental tools to understand and regulate their own emotions.
Exactly. And ultimately, that can have a ripple effect on their relationships and choices.
Right, yeah.
And Dr. Knoff highlights that not all SEL programs are created equal.
So what should we be looking for? Like, what makes a good SEL program?
So he really stresses that the program should be woven into the school's culture, not just to a one-time workshop.
Okay.
It needs to be consistently reinforced and integrated into everyday life.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like, imagine trying to learn a new language by only attending one class a month.
Right.
You couldn't get very far.
Exactly. It's got to be a part of the fabric of the school.
So it's like an ongoing process.
Exactly.
Okay.
And think about the impact of starting early. Dr. Knoff believes social skills instruction should begin in preschool or kindergarten.
Wow, so from the very beginning.
From day one, imagine a school where kindness, empathy, and conflict resolution are just ingrained in the culture.
That's a powerful vision.
From day one.
It really is, but it brings up a question for me. This CDC report that we've been talking about, it focuses on high schoolers. Are we overlooking younger children? Where do they fit into all of this?
That's such an important point, and we're actually going to dig into that more in the next part of our deep dive, because while the CDC report gives us a snapshot of the challenges facing high school students, those challenges often have roots in earlier experiences.
Right. It's not like they just suddenly appear in high school.
Exactly.
So are we setting kids up for success early on? Or are we playing catch-up later when problems become more serious?
That's exactly the question we'll tackle next, and we'll also delve deeper into what Dr. Knoff sees as the long-term benefits of prioritizing social-emotional learning.
Okay. I'm really interested to hear more about that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a fascinating conversation.
Yeah, it sounds good.
So we were talking about this whole idea of social-emotional learning.
Right.
For SEL and, how important it is.
Yeah, and especially in those early years.
Right, those really crucial early years.
Yeah, like if we're seeing these crazy statistics in high school, what's going on, in elementary school and even
preschool.
Right. Are we missing opportunities there?
Yeah, are we missing the boat?
To build that.
Yeah.
Strong foundation.
Yeah, because those problems don't just magically appear in 9th grade.
Right, think about it. Like, when kids are little, that's when they're learning to navigate friendships and deal with conflict and understand their own emotions.
Absolutely. And that's where I think SEL can play such a huge role.
Right. And Dr. Knopf argues that starting early is key.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like he believes it should start in preschool or kindergarten.
Yeah. Imagine a classroom where like sharing and empathy and problem solving are just woven into the fabric of the day.
Right. It's just how they do things.
It's just part of the culture.
It's like setting them up for success from the get-go.
Exactly. Instead of playing catch-up later.
Right.
We're giving them the tools they need.
Yeah, and think about the ripple effects, If you have a generation of kids who are better at handling conflict, who understand their emotions better, who can build healthy relationships, it could transform the whole school environment. Think about it.
Yeah.
Less bullying, more collaboration, a greater sense of community.
Right, and those benefits extend beyond the classroom, too.
Oh, absolutely. These skills are valuable in every aspect of life.
Yeah, they go out into the world and suddenly they're better equipped to deal with all the challenges that life throws at them.
It's like giving them a lifelong toolkit for navigating relationships, work, stress.
All of it.
All of it. And Dr. Knoff makes this point in his blog. He says, these skills aren't just nice to haves. They're essential for success in all areas of life.
That's so true. I mean, think about your own life. How often do those skills come into play?
All the time.
Yeah.
Strong communication skills.
Empathy.
The ability to manage your emotions.
Yeah, whether it's at work or relationships, just navigating everyday life. Those things are so important.
They're crucial. And I think that's what's so compelling about his argument. He's not just talking about making schools nicer places.
Yeah.
He's talking about equipping students with the fundamental skills they need to thrive throughout their lives.
Yeah, he's really shifting the way we think about education.
Absolutely.
It's not just about academics. It's about the whole person.
The whole person but, it also raises a lot of questions for me.
Yeah, like what?
Like, how do we actually implement effective SEL programs? Yeah. And what role do parents and families play in all of this?
Those are great questions. And luckily, Dr. Knoff actually addresses those in his white paper.
Okay, so he dives a little deeper.
He does, which is available on the Project at G website, by the way.
Yes, plug for the white paper. It's a great resource.
It is. And he offers some really practical guidance for evaluating SEL programs.
Okay.
Making sure that they're truly evidence-based.
So we're not just, throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Exactly. We want to make sure that we're using approaches that have actually been shown to work.
Right. And he also talks about this idea of integrating SEL into the school's culture.
So it's not just a separate subject. It's woven into everything.
Exactly. It's part of the air they breathe.
I like that.
Yeah.
And I think that's key,
Yeah.
It needs to be reflected in the way teachers interact with students, the way conflicts are resolved.
Everything. The overall values that the school promotes.
Absolutely. And he also emphasizes the importance of involving families in the process.
Oh, that's huge, because ultimately these skills are learned and reinforced both at school And at home.
It takes a village.
Right. It really does. It takes a village to raise a well-rounded child.
Emotionally, socially, academically, all of it.
All of it. And so it's really this collaborative effort. Teachers, administrators, parents, the community, everyone has a role to play.
I love that.
In creating this supportive ecosystem where kids can develop these strong social emotional skills.
You know, you think about it that way.
Mm-hmm.
It highlights the potential impact of this. We're not just talking about individual students. We're talking about building a more empathetic, a more resilient, a more just society as a whole.
It's a powerful vision. It really is. And it all starts with acknowledging the importance of social emotional learning, not as an add-on to academic education, but as this fundamental building block.
Yeah, it's foundational. It's not an extra.
It's not an afterthought. It's part of the core.
Okay, so we talked about why SEL matters, especially in those early years, but I'm curious to hear more about the how. How do we actually choose and implement effective programs?
That's the million-dollar question, and that's what we're going to unpack in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay.
Dr. Knoff offers some really concrete recommendations for what to look for in a program, as well as strategies for making sure it's implemented effectively.
All right, I'm really interested to hear that because it's one thing to understand SEL in theory, but it's another to put into practice in a way that actually makes a difference.
Exactly. We need to know the specifics. And I think that's where Dr. Knoff's expertise really shines through, because he's not just a theorist. He's a practitioner. He's been working in this field for decades.
Yeah, so he's seen what works.
Yeah.
And what doesn't.
Exactly. Okay, so we know SEL is important.
Right, but as we were saying, it's one thing to talk about it. It's another thing to actually do it.
To put it into practice.
Exactly.
So let's focus on that. Like, how do we actually choose and implement effective SEL programs?
Right. How do we make this happen in schools?
And luckily, Dr. Knoff gives us some really practical guidance on this.
Yeah, he lays out some key characteristics to look for in a program.
Yeah, and one of the big things he emphasizes is this idea of a comprehensive approach.
Okay, so it's not just about adding a new class to the schedule.
Right, it's not just like a one-off assembly.
Exactly. It's about weaving SEL into the very fabric of the school.
So it's really about creating a culture where these skills are valued.
Yeah, a culture where SEL is just how they do things.
Okay, so how do you actually create that kind of culture?
Well, he suggests starting with professional development.
Okay.
For teachers and staff.
So the adults need to be on board.
Yeah, they need to understand SEL. They need to buy into it.
Yeah.
And they need to know how to implement it effectively.
It's like giving them the tools. They need to be successful.
Right. You can't just tell teachers, okay, go teach us SEL.
Right.
They need support and training.
And ongoing training.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Professional development. Shouldn't be a one-time thing.
It's got to be an ongoing process.
Right. It's about creating a learning community where teachers can share their experiences, reflect on what's working, and continue to grow.
And I imagine involving families and communities is also crucial.
Oh, absolutely. SEL shouldn't be confined to the school walls.
You've got to extend beyond the classroom.
Right. It's about creating that supportive ecosystem where kids are practicing these skills in all areas of their lives.
So parents, caregivers, community members, everybody's got a role to play.
It really does take a village, right?
It does, to raise a well-rounded child.
Emotionally, socially, academically, all of it.
And it's not just about teaching.
Yeah.
Specific skills.
Right. It's not just about teaching them how to resolve a conflict or how to manage their anger.
Right. It's also about fostering certain mindsets and dispositions.
Okay, like what are we talking about here?
So things like resilience.
Okay.
Empathy. A growth mindset.
So the belief that they can learn and grow.
Yeah, that mistakes are opportunities for learning, that they have the power to make positive choices.
Those are such important qualities, especially in today's world.
Yeah, and it's why I think SEL is so important. It's not just about academic success. It's about equipping kids with the skills and mindsets. They need to navigate all the complexities of life.
Right, to build healthy relationships.
Yeah.
To contribute to society.
It's almost like giving them a compass and a map.
Yeah.
To navigate the emotional terrain of life.
That's a great analogy. I love that.
And it brings us back to something we were talking about earlier.
This idea of prevention.
Yeah, SEL isn't just about fixing problems. It's about proactive support.
Right. It's about building that foundation for well-being.
That's going to serve them throughout their lives.
You know, thinking about it that way, investing in SEL isn't just an educational decision. It's a societal decision.
It's an investment in our future.
Yeah, it's about creating a world where people are better equipped to understand themselves
each other.
They're challenges we face.
And ultimately, to create a world where everyone has the opportunity to thrive.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
And on that note, I want to thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
For this deep dive into the importance of social emotional learning.
Yeah, this has been a great conversation.
And for all of you listening out there, if you're interested in learning more, I highly recommend checking out Dr. Knoff's white paper.
Yeah, it's full of great information.
And his website, Project Achieve, has a ton of resources on SEO.
So much good stuff out there.
This has been a really eye-opening deep dive for me. I've learned a lot. And I hope it's been the same for you, our listeners.
Absolutely.
Until next time.
See ya.